Hi, everybody. This is Dave Foreman. The subject of my project was the absence of fatherhood and its effect on family literacy. I've been teaching since 2002, and I had a suspicion that if there was something wrong at home and kids were poor readers, they're going to struggle in school, both academically and behaviorally. And my research in this course has proved that. I also fear we're losing a whole generation of boys. There's not enough male mentors in and outside of school with the absence of fathers. Here is a definition of an absent father. It's not only a physical presence, but kids suffer psychological and spiritual and emotional absence when their dads are not around. More recently, the research sees a trend that this absence impacts boys worse than the girls in the family. The reading impact, it's pretty obvious. If they're not reading at home and there's only one parent, kids suffer. It begins at the pre-K level and it just tends to get worse. Academic achievement, if there's two parents and they're helping their kids learn how to read, the kids do better in school. If the students don't have their fathers around, they're at risk academically and socially. What I was trying to find is what we can do to help these kids, what's the impact on literacy, and what are other problems when the kids don't have their fathers. The findings were pretty gruesome, worse than I thought until I started researching this. They're obviously going to fail in school in most cases. They suffer emotional disorders. Crime is a problem, poor health, poverty, and this surprised me. These kids tend to die younger. This impacts their learning when the father's not around. It hurts the family overall economically and emotionally because these kids tend to get worse jobs because they can't get through school. And it's a demographic trend that seems to be hitting the entire nation. And it leads to other problems, including domestic violence. Here are the grim facts. It's estimated 1 in 4 students in our nation live without a father. This leads to increased suicides from this group. Homelessness, runaway children, behavior disorders in school, anger problems, and a high number of dropouts come from this group. It's normally 9 times as the average. As I said before, this results in behavior problems in school, friendships outside of school, fears, resentments, and the school dropout rate is, again, much higher for this group, and they tend to do poorly on reading tests and along with the other state tests. Without their dad, this hurts their educational attainment and child development, and it begins at a young age. If the father's not around, it just gets worse. They also have a chance to have the lowest literary skills if it's a single parent. And if their parents aren't educated, it just causes a cycle of poverty. This group also tends to have a lower grade point average. On the other hand, if both parents are available, this group tends to do much better on testing and has higher GPAs. The dropout rate for fatherless children is much higher. They do poorly on reading tests along with the state tests and math and thinking skills. This concerned me. If kids are not reading well by the 3rd grade, they're more likely to drop out by the time they reach high school. And unfortunately, this group tends to be fatherless from my research. A famous education author, Alan Blankstein, recognized this problem. He wrote the book Failure is Not an Option. And in his interview, he stressed that the risk issues are much higher for this group. And poverty is associated with the group because they can't get through school. Here's a chart showing that the poverty for single parents is much higher as opposed to a married couple. And this is by race. Unfortunately, in minority families, it tends to be single parent, and these families tend to be poor, so it's hard for the kids to break out of the cycle of poverty. Again, they're more likely to drop out of school if they're fatherless, more likely to repeat a grade, as opposed to the kids that have their parents around. The fatherless groups do not participate in extracurricular activities and clubs and sports, and they're just miserable in school. And they also tend to get more involved with drugs. It's 10 times the average. And this chart summarizes all the dangers of growing up in a fatherless family, including the educational risk. On the opposite hand, those with fathers tend to do much better in school. They're less likely to flunk a grade and have to repeat it. There's less behavioral problems in the classroom, and that's been my experience too. And there's less chance of dropping out of school. And they tend to get better grades when both parents are around. What I hope to do with this information is pass it on to the 2 districts I work in, and maybe they can use it for professional development. Share it with some principals that I substitute often at. I'm going to pass it on to the Department of Education. I'm also going to make a suggestion to the governor. I think all student teachers, regardless of their certification, need to help with a reading program after school or maybe during a summer camp. Because if students can't read, they're not going to get through school. And I hope to share this next year at the Literacy Conference. On the bright side, there are solutions on the research I saw. The 2 trends to help fatherless families are obviously support single moms, and we need to find more mentors in and outside the school. One study I saw in Texas were successful moms that refused to give up. They were single moms, and they got their boys through school, and all their boys went on to get good jobs. Most of them went to college. The trend was they had a strong relationship with their sons. They made it perfectly clear that their father was absent. Mentors played a huge role through church, sports, clubs. And the boys grew up thinking, I can be a positive father, unlike what my father did. The churches played a big role, just providing mentors. There was extended family support, and it was more positive too. They weren't going to slam their fathers, both from the mother and the kids. And charity was a big issue in these families. They were brought up to help others. Again, we need more mentors. Extended family can help. Coaches in sports and club. Summer reading camps have been successful. I wish there were more of them. Religious groups can provide mentors. Programs like Junior Achievement to bring volunteers into the classroom can bring strong male role models. Again, I think student teachers need to be more involved, helping in this problem. I'd like to see the program called Dogs of Gifted Students expanded. A lot of schools do not do this, where they bring fathers in as role models. And we need to have more community mentor programs. I've been a volunteer for Save Our Youth. That was a mentor program for at-risk kids in inner city Denver and Whiz Kids. I was a tutor. They pick at-risk reading kids throughout the Denver area, and they provide tutors for them after school. I think the Scouts are a great program for the girls and the boys, along with the boys and girls clubs. I also hope that more retired people get involved with their local school, especially elementary level. There are a lot of people out there that need a purpose in their life, and they're just sitting at home. And I think we need to incorporate more grandparents too. One other study I saw was in England, where fatherless kids were allowed to go visit their dads in prisons And the dads read to them and increased connectivity with their kids, and the reading scores went up for both the dads and the kids. Obviously, the importance of a father figure cannot be overemphasized. This helps kids get through school and hopefully get a good job because they can read better and they're more emotionally stable. Again, this was a study in England where they allowed kids to go to their dads in the prisons. I think we need more mentors in the classroom, and we need to expand summer reading programs, especially for kids that are at risk, lower reading levels, particularly in the elementary level. And libraries have a lot of programs, but unfortunately, the kids at risk don't tend to use those in the summer. Further research, I think there's a big gap nationally on what we can do to help this at-risk group. There is a fatherless void. I'd also like to know how many of the third graders here tested in Colorado who scored significantly lower on their ELA reading tests come from fatherless homes. I tried the CDE and they don't know the answer. Also, I think we need to get more boys to attend college and motivate them to go to tech school or college. Right now, the females are doing much better than the boys, and we're losing a generation. Here's some websites I use. Again, I want to plug to the charities Save Our Youth and Whiz Kids, and I think I've seen this at schools too, at least a few of them, not enough. The DOGS program, where they recognize dads coming into school to help out with their kids. And here's some local stats you can get from the state of Colorado and nationally. And some other websites. Appreciate you listening. The rest of my presentation on peer-reviewed articles. I hope you have a great day.